Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be discussing Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen, and as you can see, this is one of these beautiful Easton Press editions, which I bought when I was younger, in my 20s, when I spent more time working and a lot less time reading, so I piled up a bunch of these that I never really got to read. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, I mean, there's not too much justice I can do in a video, but this is printed on, specially milled paper. You've got this beautiful vellum interior, gilt pages, a book ribbon, and then there's all these wonderful illustrations inside as well. But it makes for a really beautiful reading experience, apart from the story that you have. I just wanted to find an illustration for you. So there, for example. And yes, okay, it's wonderful, and you might well treat yourself. I'm sure that originally these cost me north of 40 or 50 US dollars each, and that's not where I am these days. So let's say in my 20s I thought, this is a good investment, I'm going to have it in my library, it's going to be an heirloom, and my values have shifted very much since then, my priorities in life, etc. And so I probably settled on a solid used hardback as my preferred book, somewhere between a trade paperback, which is, as you know, the cheapest, sometimes worst reading experience you can have, and something like this where you're almost afraid to underline. I wasn't. I know that some people are, book worshippers, and so they're not allowed to touch anything it's supposed to be worshipped, but I don't worship books. I worship God, and this needs to be marked. And even with my strong marking tendencies, with something as beautifully bound as this, I was still hesitant. I did, however, so if you ever look at my edition of Pride and Prejudice, you'll find it marked. Maybe not as heavily footnoted or annotated as I would in my other editions. So that's just the Easton Press edition. I just wanted to say a few words about that. Is it worth investing if you really value books like this and you're willing to put up the coin? And I think you can even find, even in the used market, they still fetch a decent rate. So as an investment, it won't lose too much value. But if you're more like myself and you're interested in books more as on the practical side for reading rather than a wonderful sensual experience of feeling the leather bound solid feel. I mean, it is wonderful. I can't deny it. But that's not how I want to read every book. So Jane Austen, an incredible author, and this is her masterpiece, and it's the only one of her novels that rate in my list of best novels of all time for me. And I like it for so many reasons, but as I always do in these reviews, I try not to talk about everything that I like about a novel, but I just try to focus on one or two aspects. And we have a heroine here in Elizabeth Bennet who's honest and vulnerable enough to tell us everything she's going through, everything she's thinking, even when she's very much in the wrong. But even more importantly, she sometimes lies to herself, and there's just enough in the text to let you know that the narrator knows that she's lying to herself and trying by effect to lie to us as the readers, but that's not going to fly. But that again makes it realistic. That's how we conduct our human affairs sometimes. Sometimes we probably have a sense that something isn't true, but we lie to ourselves because it is more expedient, and then because of that lie, other consequences follow. This book is also a reminder that we don't always get to choose who becomes part of our family. For those of you with multiple siblings like myself, I have all sisters. There are brothers-in-law that you may get along with very well, and there may be brothers-in-law that you never talk to at all. For whatever reason, it doesn't need to necessarily be something unfriendly, like this person doesn't need to be a Wickham, but maybe they're, or as annoying as a Mr. Collins, but they're just not, they're not necessarily someone you get along with. And whether you get to choose them or not, they're going to be part of your family. So Darcy never wanted Wickham to be a brother-in-law, but surprise, he's a brother-in-law. I'm certain that Elizabeth or the Bennet family never anticipated having Mr. Collins as part of their life, but given that Charlotte Lucas is still a friend, he's never going to not be a part of their life. You can limit the influence of these people, but you can't just banish them. And I think that's helpful in an age in which we have the luxury, I consider it a great luxury, to delete people out of our lives, to unfriend them, to cut ties, to block people. I think that that's helpful. I'm not going to be someone that says, "Oh, I wish we could go back to the days when we couldn't." I think sometimes it's very important to cut ties with people and move on and not give either you or them a way back to that. And all these things will be answered in the next life anyway, so it's not necessarily important to address them in this life. And this book harkens back to a time before the blocking feature, before the unfriending feature, and it encourages a more stiff upper lip, as the English are wont to do, in dealing with the unpleasantness of family relations that you didn't get to choose. The book also gives us a tableau of different marriages. I do not agree that Darcy and Elizabeth are the ideal marriage, as some people would like to imagine, especially many young women, unfortunately, who would like to fancy themselves an Elizabeth Bennet for whatever reason. I don't see them as an ideal couple, but rather as an example of a couple who are suited to each other, in the same way that Jane and Charles are suited to each other. Funny, no one ever considers themselves a Jane because she's not as witty as Elizabeth. But those two, Charles and Jane, are suited to each other. So too, Charlotte and Mr. Collins. Charlotte and Mr. Collins look at marriage as simply a thing to do. You're supposed to check it off the box and you're supposed to move on with your life, and they're suited to each other. Lydia and Wickham, they are people who do not value marriage very much, just more something, again, to do in order to advance yourself. They both have different ways of advancing themselves. Obviously, Wickham wants to advance his ability to roam around and spend money, and Lydia wants to advance her freedom away from her family, away from prying eyes, but they're suited to each other. Whether we like it or not, whether we approve of people's matches or not, sometimes people are really suited to each other, and you will attract what you are. And so if you are the sort of person, if you are a Lydia, you are going to attract a Wickham. And if you're an Elizabeth Bennet with some fine eyes, you may attract a Mr. Darcy. The question is, can you catch him and can you keep him? And vice versa, for the men as well. So, I cannot recommend strongly enough Pride and Prejudice. It's one of my favorite novels of all time. It's certainly my favorite among Jane Austen's. I don't even think, maybe Sense and Sensibility comes in the same ball game, but her other novels I don't think even come close to Pride and Prejudice. And the original title for this book, which I also like, is called First Impressions, and I think that works really well as well. You don't necessarily have to get an Easton Press edition of the book, although you might enjoy it, but overall you would be best served by reading this book in any edition you find. Even if you find an old trade paperback edition at a used bookstore, you will enjoy it. So please, if you like this review, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of these reviews, hit subscribe. If you'd like to see even more reviews and an exclusive that I do once a month for my Patreons on Patreon, my patrons on Patreon, please feel free to click through in the bottom and find out how you can join and get access to those reviews. Until next time, keep reading.